Wow. What a movie we watched tonight, huh, Scrooge?
Yeah, you could say that again.
What a movie we watched tonight, Scrooge.
Saying it again definitely does not cure me of the trauma of which you've caused me. I don't know how you pick
What a
these
movie
things.
that we watched tonight, Scrooge.
You already said that.
I honestly don't know what exactly we were looking to find in a movie called Slumber Party Massacre 2.
Not what we actually did find, because I thought I was going to find God. Instead, I found Satan himself.
Well, personally, you might have found Satan because of the rock and roll aspect of this film.
Well, that is true.
But, yeah, this is AC.
And this is Scrooge.
And we're the men of action, right?
No, well, you feel like just the men of action. We're the real men of action. But
I don't even want to say real because it's like disgracing the movie industry of what we just watched tonight.
I guess so. Well, we're supposed to be the real men of action, but we have to redeem our honor.
All right, let's check it out. Start out by saying I'm sorry for making you watch this.
Nothing you could say or do would redeem what you've done to me.
I just thought, like I said before, I just thought that I had humble intentions on showing you okay, obviously this show is focused on bad movies, so part of me is like, I want to show you a slasher film, but also I want to make sure it's bad.
Yeah, well, you did a great job, because you definitely picked from the right bunch of bad movies. Because here I am, I cook you a nice dinner, and you're like, oh, I got the perfect. Oh, you know what? We'll do this some American slasher horror movie.
Stay away from the Italian for a little bit.
Yeah, stay away from the Italian. We'll get back to America. Instead, you go and you pick the just. Oh my God! And the best part is that reading the description actually got me interested in seeing it.
Yeah.
Instead, you just completely destroy.
Well, you read the description and you kind of think it's like almost going to be a watchable movie.
Yeah.
Because it's
literally
like, a weekend getaway, girls getting murdered, they look
by
hot.
A rock and roll murderer who has a drill.
Super bizarre and out there, and wow, this could actually have been like a really fun movie. Do not think it holds up at all. So let's start it off. Slumber Party Massacre 2, sequel to Slumber Party Massacre, a cult classic horror movie from 1982. This cashed in off the Friday the 13th binge. I think the first movie specifically, the slasher, binge, which America was loving so much. There were so many sequels. By the time this movie came out, there were so many sequels to like Friday the 13th. But even the first Slumber Party Massacre was in 82, so that was the second Friday the 13th was already coming out. I think it was actually the third one at that time because the first one was in 1980. But I'm not gonna ramble, which I am. But so yeah, so you
he
got
likes this stuff if you can't tell.
Of course, I absolutely love this horror, but unfortunately, this horror movie that we picked tonight, you can hear from my voice, I'm not that interested.
He's actually traumatized.
I'm not ready to talk.
This is kind of like a group. Look at this less as a podcast tonight and more of a group therapy session.
100%. It's a learning experience, I thought this movie personally was going to be good because a lot of the time the sequels to movies, even though, like I told you, they have nothing to do with the actual original movie a lot of the time.
All right.
I thought, an hour and 17 minutes should be a breeze.
Right through it.
We should be
cut
totally
through it like butter.
Like that drill in this movie, because the first movie cashed in off of... So every slasher horror movie has the classic weapon.
Yeah, something.
Michael Myers had the kitchen knife. Jason had the machete. Freddy Krueger had the glove with the nails and whatever it was. And this movie, they wanted to reuse the drill from the first movie, right? So you would think, what a better way to do that than to mix that with one of the biggest things at that time in the late 80s, which was hair metal. But what's weird also about this movie, too, and the cover shows you, it's not just hair metal. It's like Greaser's 1950s hard rock and roll, like Elvis kind of.
I almost don't have the words. What you just said was that literally, though, everything seemed like, because I'm not the biggest horror dude, but everything capitalizes off of each other in the horror movies because you said Friday the 13th came first, but then that was the first Massacre thing was on like 82. You said. Then this one came out.
Which one?
The Slumber Massacre.
The first one?
Yeah,
So
one.
this was 1982. Early 80s was like the prime of 80 slashers. By the end of the 80s, we were done with slashers.
Yeah,
we were
because
done.
I'm pretty sure, because I'm not big on it, but I know I'm pretty sure for Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one came out in 84.
Yeah, it was like
so
84
then
or so.
Literally, this came out after that one, and then I feel like this one was like, oh, hey, let's capitalize off of a ton of bits and pieces of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, even this movie, which is in the trivia, and I've noticed throughout the whole thing, they keep paying homages. Homages? Is that the word? Tributes. Homages. Sounds like a.
I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure my boy AC's gone. He's mentally not there anymore.
I'm not all here, but
he checked out.
I do remember in the movie one of the officers' names was Officer Voorhees, and then they were talking about the Cravens. What was the crew? Oh, there was also an Officer Kruger.
There's just an Officer Kruger. I don't remember Officer Voorhees.
Well, that's who the guy from Ned's Declassified, the principal.
What?
That's literally what it says right here is Officer Voorhees.
Oh my God, that's so stupid.
It
I
probably
didn't hear
flew
that.
over our heads because we weren't paying attention.
No, yeah, I was too
Don't
busy
blame
thinking,
us.
No, I was way too busy thinking about who the actor was, which was just the weirdest reference I've ever had
Weirdest
in a
cameo,
while.
yeah. Like if you out there watched Ned's Declassified at all,
Just straight up.
Vice
word out
Principal, I forgot his name.
He was great because his character was literally just a parody of Sonny Crockett from Miami Vice.
Yeah.
He'd wear the white
The
suit
yep.
with the interchangeable colored shirts and then his sunglasses. For what reason, I don't know, but it worked for the show, and I love that show. It's one of my favorite my favorite shows as a child. So.
Well, you were hypnotized when he came on the screen. You were like,
loved
I
it.
know him.
Well, yeah, because my mom loved Miami Vice, so I knew exactly what he was parodying, and I just loved it. So the fact that he's even in this movie for just no good reason shows that he was doing stuff for years.
Oh, yeah.
Way before he even got onto the work as a principal.
And his name, Officer Voorhees, Jason Voorhees.
God, that's so stupid. And then there's so many references to dreams. I just thought, as we're sitting here talking,
Nightmare
I'm
on Elm
thinking about
Street.
how many times, like, the whole thing has to do with dreams.
That's why I think, it, and like I said, the Cravens, okay, you don't take a name of a, family and just name it a bullet. Like, if you're watching a horror movie, you're a horror head, okay? A lot of the time, if you're watching Slumber Party Massacre 2, you're going back and you're watching it, Craven is going to pop out. It's not just a nonchalant name, or Voorhees as well. Voorhees is such a, obscure name, and it was great for Jason, but for an officer, I don't know. But anyways, I'll be leading this conversation, but I do personally I want to hear what you want to think because of it. Because a little bit of background, I've never seen this movie. I've seen bits and pieces. Usually I put it on. I actually put it on a couple nights ago to fall asleep to.
Good movie then.
Great movie
Good
to fall
choice.
asleep to.
I would have been out.
But I knew that, if you saw this, you would be interested just by the cover and the obscure, weird, nature of it alone, that they mixed rock and roll and a slasher. I don't get why.
It was literally, I thought I was watching a music video. I thought I was watching, an hour and a half long. Felt like an hour and a half, felt like 2 hours. It was an hour and 15-minute long music video. I swear to God, I thought, and there's also the 80s too, so it made sense. I thought I was at any moment gonna break out into Michael Jackson or someone just popping out and just start singing David Bowie or whatever because it's just some weird, or Phil Collins just pops out on the drums. I mean, I don't know where to start this movie. We could start with, I guess, trying to describe it.
We could, yeah. I just want to real quick before we go into describing it, which is going to take a lot of energy to remember this movie. Overall, like I said, I didn't really know about it, and you didn't really know about it. So collectively, I'm kind of excited. So in the sense of me introducing you it's more how I felt way back in Blockbuster days or Hollywood Video days, where you would go in the store,
giddy like a kid almost.
You
right?
see a cover like this, and you're like, dude, this is gonna be so I honestly don't know what I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be good in a bad way, but we'll see later what we think about it completely.
Well, kind of, if you think about it, when you said you feel that about being a kid, think about it's kind of the same thing. It's just modernized. We do sit there and we scroll through movie titles, and they either have the poster or they have a screenshot from the movie. And depending on that, we're like, oh, that looks really stupid. So let's check that out. It's not the same, but it's like almost like that's like the
new
VHS
thing. Yeah.
version of the today for kids or
Looking
anyone to
through it,
look through movies on a streaming site. Does this look good? Not. It's just the lazy version of it.
Well, what they'll do too sometimes on streaming networks is they won't put the original cover from the movie. They'll like pre-make this like fake newer cover a lot of the time, and it just
CGI,
it'll throw you
Photoshop.
off. The funniest is they'll take a movie from like the 80s and then they'll make a cover for it, and it cover literally will be like somebody in the current day with like a current camera, so it looks like it's a newer horror movie, but it's actually from like the 80s. I've seen a lot of those.
That, and there's other ones where either somebody who's more important now or just a more important name, they'll literally try to capitalize on that person being in the movie, and the person's not like even in the movie for that long, or that doesn't even matter. But because that person was so-called popular, they go and slap him on the front of the cover just to make you think that you're gonna go and get it and you're gonna watch this.
Well, that was like Kevin Bacon in the first Friday the 13th. I think they rided off that for a while because he got big in Footloose, I think was his other movie that he was really big in. But okay, enough sidetracking. Let's go straight into the fire.
I want to make sure you're ready. I was stalling so you could prepare yourself for this. Yeah, so we open up on a very lovely, sensual shot of some very pretty font describing in detail the starring players that AC and I thought we were literally watching like some kind of weird-ass romantic comedy softcore porn thing.
Yeah, it's like the neon blue text is so like elegant. It looks like some
it had
kind
like
of...
swooping. It had like swooping Fs, and everything was going in each direction. Like it was just really like just with care and love. It made no sense. And the music in the background was very sensual.
The music was very sexual.
It was very sexual, very sensual. All the while, we're lingering on shots of this chick. You think, okay, she's young, whatever. And then all of a sudden it gets to her face. I think I literally said, is this chick like 35 or 40 years old?
Yep. So the main character, she's like a lot older, which I looked up. She was like 25 or 26, playing the role of a senior in high school, which is like 17 or 18. Yeah.
17. And so she's lying there, and eventually what turns out to be this crib-looking bedroom full of like the most stereotypical like 5-year-old girl stuff. And she's rolling around in bed, and she's having these weird ass visions of a real life Ken doll who is like playing football shirtless in like a field.
His name is
Matt. Oh, excuse me, Matt. Matt. She's having many wet dreams of Matt, and
Matt. She just, every time we say it today, it's Matt.
It's Matt. So she's having these visions of this guy, and she's like, Matt, and then that's it. It cuts out. It goes to the next thing, which is her having a complete meltdown of these weird dreams and visions of like, rock and roll, horror, people dying. It's just like it's all over the place. There's like this. It's you can't even see, and then she freaks out. Then the next scene is she's having the weirdest.
So I think she was having nightmares, though, about the first film. I think these were flashbacks, a combination of the first film as well as the events that were going to happen in this movie. Yeah. As we've seen, she dreams about a dove.
Dead. Stupid dumbass dove lying on the ground. It had a whole it's been shot. It looked like it was an actor in theater camp that got shot and was lying there like.
I read that it was a frozen dead pigeon that they used. Have
you ever seen Arrested Development?
No, I haven't.
God, there's a great bit where the magician brother accidentally kills a dove and tries to return it, a frozen dead dove. That's exactly what it reminds me of.
That's
like the same kind of cheap ass, they just grab some dead animal or whatever and they throw it in the freezer and then they just put a little splat of blood on it. So yeah, she's having visions of doves. Bloody doves, and then else.
Also there's a shot I remember of the asylum where her sister is living. We actually get the dreams get more evolved as they go on throughout this movie. Mm-hmm. But I do remember, I think at the beginning it's like her sister in like the asylum and stuff like that, mixed with just scenes that are from later in the movie and stuff.
Yeah, it's all over the place, yeah.
And then she goes downstairs. She ends up going downstairs, gets called down for breakfast, leaves her little kitty room with... it's just so weird. She got a teddy bear by her light.
She's got, it's a literal stereotypical, not like teenager girl, like 10-year-old, 5 to 10-year-old girl.
See, that to me is a weird thing because... we apparently, from what I've read, is that in the first movie she was a lot younger. In this movie,
Yeah.
she grew up. I get that completely. Why is she still? Why are you dressing the set like she still is a little kid? I don't get that completely.
I don't think they actually have the mental comprehension, have some deeper meaning behind that. I think it's probably another example of directors just thinking like that just makes sense to them.
Yeah.
Like, we talk about the foreign directors, like, oh, that makes sense. This chick might not be a foreign director, but you probably just like, oh, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it.
Maybe it was trying to be some weird theme about like innocence or some shit. I don't.
Yeah, again, you'd be thinking too much into it, but that's what you love doing, AC. You
Exactly.
love
I love
that extra meaning into something that's not even there.
Like the one podcast episode before, you were saying how I like to go nice and deep. I
Super
remember
deep.
you were saying that for like 15, 30 seconds about how deep I like to go.
Yeah,
But
sometimes you just gotta push. You gotta push hard and penetrate deep.
and we get that in this movie, which we will
because-
talk about later in the movie.
As we just we transition from one weird ass shot to the next, and then she comes down to her scary like 1950s kitchen, which has half bowls of fruit. I literally had to have my man pause it because there's a bowl of fruit on the table that has half of a banana. Not
Yeah.
like half eaten. It's like half cut. It's cut in half.
And it looks moldy.
Moldy
It looks
on the side that's
gross.
been cut.
That-
And then he pointed out, AC pointed out, like the apples looked weird and they look like rotten pumpkins
Yeah.
on the table. Then you have a lion poster on the fridge.
On a calendar. Yeah.
And then the final was Mom was telling about, those visions are normal. That's what the doctor said and all this other stuff. And as she's preparing to feed her more toast and giant pieces of oranges that took up like the entire plate.
They love breakfast in this movie because there's also another scene where they kind of later in the film the band tries to like feed her again. Mm-hmm. Don't really understand it, but
So the net is that I was like, oh, you better get ready for school, sweetie. Better get going. Like this is like your 5th grade. And she's like, oh, okay, Mom, I love you.
yeah.
Goodbye.
And then like later in the film, or
I was literally waiting for her to hop onto a school bus, but no, she walks outside,
Yeah.
walks down the street, and then
But
runs into another dead pigeon.
well, let me just
Remember?
address real quick. Yeah, the dead pigeon. Before we go far ahead, though, her mom like treats her literally like she's a child. Again, going back to that child thing.
Yeah.
The one part when she's on the phone with her boyfriend, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's 11:30. I got school in the morning.
Yeah.
Like really like awkward. Like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
who gives a shit? She's a senior in high school, and my mom would never give a shit about this stuff, dude.
Well, like there literally might be that they were trying to go for a deeper meeting. It's literally one of the two things. Excuse me. It was either trying to go for a deeper meeting, or it was literally just that lazy of writing. Like she wasn't even paying attention to the fact that this actress is like 25.
Maybe it was written
and-
for a younger girl.
It's possible, but even at 17,
Even 17,
that's just
That's
scary.
still pushing it. Yeah,
If I
that's-
was a 17-year-old boy and I went to go meet a 17-year-old girl at my school and her mom was treating her like that, I'd probably freak out.
This dude looks older than her, by the way.
Oh,
This
yeah.
dude looks like he's like 29 or 30, dude.
Well, that's-
they're all in their late 20s.
They're all
in this
they're all
movie.
flipping old. It's crazy because we were slowly introduced to each one of them. So she's walks down the street, finds another dead pigeon, and then as that happens, her I don't know what's her the one chick.
Oh, okay. So her best friend is, I think, Amy, the
Yes.
one that she's
No,
in the
not-
car with. That's
No, Amy is the dumb blonde. That's the
okay.
drummer.
So it's Sheila.
Sheila.
No,
Sheila's
Sally.
the-
Sally.
Sally, there you go.
Okay, so
Sally.
she gets in the car with Sally,
Mm-hmm.
picks her up, kind of does a Halloween if you've seen the first
Yes,
Halloween.
I have.
Does that where like Jamie Lee Curtis like smokes in the car with her and stuff
Yeah.
like that. It's kind of like that thing. They're singing in the car. They're having
the
a
awkward
great
singing time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really
And then
forced.
I don't remember really what happens after this.
They
It's like-
stop in the middle of the road for no reason, and then all of a sudden, the dude that she's having dreams about just appears out of nowhere in a car
Yes.
behind them.
Yes.
And he pulls up, and they're like, "So that's the guy you like?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it is." He's like, "Oh, you should talk to him." He's like, "Oh, I can't do that." And then
Yeah, I love that. He was just following them the whole time.
just
This-
appear out
the
of nowhere.
Ken doll guy, right? Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah, he's literally throughout the whole film like stalking her because also when
He
they're
shows
having
up.
band practice, he comes out of nowhere and he's just sitting in the front driveway.
Well, remember, so they were sitting in the car and they had this awkward conversation about hanging out or whatever, and she does invite him over, and she just says it her garage. She doesn't mention like address or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
She just says my garage. Like I guess this guy just knows where everybody lives.
Yeah.
And then that moves on like nothing. They have this weird ass talk about their love, her love for him, this guy or whatever. Then we go to the next scene, which is the band practice, which I think if anyone here who's actually a real music aficionado.
You kept saying the drummer, but as somebody who's in a band, it was definitely fake drumming, but I think fake drumming looks a lot better than fake guitar playing.
Well, that's what I didn't mean like it looked like it like they like legit knew what they were doing. I was just saying it looked better because again, it might be because I'm not a musician, so I can't really tell you. But it's probably easier to mask banging on the drums as it is to just hold a guitar and molest it as you just go.
Yeah, moving it around. I would say a huge part that really they did well with is when you are doing editing, because I used to do editing music videos, when you're doing music in any kind of context, especially in a movie, and you're showing somebody playing an instrument, super easy for a guitarist to just look like they're just like nodding off and whatever.
Yeah.
Not hard
Especially a
because
bass player.
you really don't have to look at their fingers. A drummer though moves like their hands and their body, so you got to keep that in rhythm, and they do that in this. They do it actually pretty well.
Yeah.
The one part I did point out was kind of awkward. She was kind of hitting something when she shouldn't have been. Whatever. That's typical movie BS because the editors really don't care about that kind of stuff. Especially a straight to VHS movie.
Yeah.
You're not really caring too much about that. But like I said, I think it looked well because of how she was going along to the beat. I would say that's the editor's thing. That's not really her playing it, but this is just a musician.
So this is the so-called band practice.
So they're in the band
singing horribly,
and they're all looking forward, which I told you. When you practice with people, you face each other. When we're talking right now,
we're facing each other.
We're not all looking in one direction, and that would be kind of cool though. Like doing a podcast, and we're just like looking off in a distance or something like that.
Well, yeah, but we have to do that by the waterfall. What?
Dude, this movie's already painful, man.
Listen, we go out there all the time anyways when we, have our date nights. I don't understand the problem here.
You aren't supposed to let these people know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, just forget I said that. It's totally not.
Speaking of a waterfall, Matt comes out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, and he's like, "Oh my god!"
And
you guys
Courtney
sound great.
is so happy to see him. She's smirking. She's so happy, and that
So
waterfall is rushing down there. If you know what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
And and then then
No, then they talk because they
get drinks.
Yeah, it's all the girl is like, is anyone thirsty? I want to get something. I need a drink or something.
Slice.
Yeah, the one chick is like, give me a slice. She didn't say anything about a slice.
Yeah,
and she just said, "You want a drink?"
I thought that was pizza at first, but I guess it is a drink.
Yes, because it's an '80s drink. This is what happens when you and I are 14 years old. We kind of forget about the things they used to do in the '80s.
That's true.
So, but. They take 5 while she has this weird ass interaction with Matt by a tree, which you think he shoved her into.
Yeah, you said this tree looked like
It looked like a lizard.
A lizard.
It looked like a giant old lizard.
It's like a deformed tree. It was like a weird
And they got weird question, some weird conversation about like, oh yeah, Sheila, whatever the heck her name is. Her dad's got a brand new condo.
Yeah, it was Sheila.
We should all hang out and do whatever, blah blah blah. And he's like, oh yeah, I'd love to. And then they awkwardly kiss, and I guess because they really love each other so deep and hard. They love each other so deep and hard.
Yeah.
And then that's it. That's it for that.
And then she goes to bed that night. She's talking to him on the phone, and then goes to bed. Has more dreams about the killer.
Don't forget that was 11:30 curfew.
Oh yeah, like we talked about. Her mom hounds her for having an 11:30 curfew. A 17, 18, whatever that age range, girl being told by her mother that she has class in the morning. That's just I don't know. Maybe in the 80s it was a thing.
It's possible. I'm wondering. Oh, hold on. Before the night, she has a weird ass dinner with her mom with eating like the sloppiest gruel on a plate, and she's trying to find a way to do the usual how you can slip into asking your parents to get what you want. When you start off like, hey, this is going on. Do you mind if I do it? And that gets all weird because the mom wants to take her to the asylum to see her sister.
Yep.
And she's like, doesn't speak up, and then she finds a way. She starts crying and talking about how it's her birthday that weekend. She doesn't want to go in an asylum on her birthday, and her mom's like, I'm sorry, sweetie, it's okay. And then so they agree that she can go to this condo on the weekend and go, secretly bang this guy, which is what she wants, but mom doesn't know that.
No.
So then she goes upstairs.
She goes upstairs to talk on the phone and then go to bed, which she has these dreams with her sister in them
Uh-huh.
saying, "Don't go." Now,
Yeah.
personally, when I hear that, I think of a good one. A good example is like a Pet Cemetery. There's this ghost guy who keeps telling the main character, "Don't go to the cemetery." It's the classic, I'm trying to think of other horror movies, but it's basically somebody coming to you in your dreams or whatever and telling you don't do something or do something. But that's not it. Instead,
Nope.
in a comedic fashion, she goes, "Don't go all the way."
Yeah,
I
and
was
then
like,
that's when we
nice.
start getting our shots of who I called the Andrew Dice Clay killer.
Yes, we see him. We briefly
Briefly.
see him like crawling under the bed in the beginning shots and
Yeah,
stuff.
you just
So
see his
he's
feet here or
briefly,
there.
yeah, you see his jacket and everything. Then you see his face. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you said this dude looks like Andrew
Andrew
Dice
Dice-
Clay,
Yeah.
who
And
was a comedian in the '80s.
Mhm,
Correct.
big in the 80s and 90s, and his look was he looked like a greaser from the 50s, like straight out of a Grease musical or straight out of the actual 50s, where he had slick back hair, he had the leather jacket, all black. Like I was like, I swear to God, I thought this was Andrew Dice Clay, and he's using this giant. There is just unnecessary guitar riffs like out of nowhere, like not like if anyone you ever seen Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
Of course I have.
Right. Okay. Every time they're like excellent.
Yeah.
It's literally like that in a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like there would be like a dream, and all of a sudden you just hear the guitar going. And
Pretty much, you hear the guitar. You also see a smoke machine that I guess
All the time.
is just rock and
Yeah.
roll, dude. There's always smoke,
Smoke.
around,
and it
bro.
continues to escalate from like where you said it starts off with shots of his feet, then it's like you kind of see like the jacket, then it finally just like I said full bore. You see his face, and he's dancing. He
Yep.
dances a lot.
Yep, he's like
As a-
super zany and out there. You
Yeah,
know who
like
reminds
over
me
the
of
top.
is like
Who?
The Mask. You know the movie The Mask.
Yeah,
with
I
Jim
love
Carrey?
The Mask.
Kind of like how whenever he puts the mask on, he goes
Yeah, it's
crazy.
crazy.
That's what I kind of
Yeah, it's
saw.
completely over the top, but in a bad way, because I love The Mask, and that's like over the top in a good way for me.
exactly.
So yeah, then
But yeah, so she sees that, and then the next day they get going.
because
on
she
their-
ignores that advice all the way. If
Oh,
you wanted
yeah,
to know.
which is-
Spoiler alert.
Like I said, that goes nowhere, dude. It's like back in the day, usually you're warned in a classic horror film. A good horror film, if I may say. You're usually warned by something that gives you whatever, and then you use that advice, and then you would. No, she completely just disregards everything
She
that
didn't even hear it.
her sister in an asylum. If my family member, my sister lives in Florida. Okay, if I'm getting a dream about her telling me not to go somewhere,
Yeah.
despite if she's in an asylum, out of an asylum, I'm not gonna go to that place. That's a creepy fucking dream.
Right, but AC, you are not in a horror movie.
But
so
and in a horror movie, you have
brain
to
goes out the window.
completely
Gone.
disregard logic and anything like that.
Vacuum suck your brain right out of your head.
Exactly.
Gone.
And then so now after that beautiful nightmare that she has, second night in a row, she maybe like I said, maybe if you're having nightmares every night, probably shouldn't go on a
It's fine.
retreat with your friends.
It'll be fine.
Especially
don't
if
worry.
you're sleeping, as we see, you're sleeping in a bed with your friend. Imagine we were sleeping in a bed and I have nightmares every night and shit like that, and then I'd turn over and look and you're a wolf or something like that. Like
Yes, you mean every weekend.
that we do these podcasts, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, you mean when we cuddle in my bed.
Of course, but you
So what's the difference?
I'm saying if I had nightmares though, that's the
Yeah, but
difference.
you usually do.
I don't have nightmares. That's what I'm saying. And,
Sure.
and these people, okay, so it's just in general not in a good mental state. I personally think to be going on a vacation.
Right.
But I
you
also
think,
said
but you're also not in a horror movie, so you
But-
think with your head.
to be devil's advocate though, she could actually be going because she wants to think, oh well, sometimes when you have some troubles in your life and you go do something, you think
Yeah.
you'll forget about it and life
Oh, yeah,
moves
usually
on.
that's the point. Yeah.
Exactly. So maybe that's it.
Get numb.
But no, she goes on this.
Stereotypical road trip.
Yep.
You want to put it?
Yep, I said it. It's the classic like California mountains drive. It actually looks similar to in Troll 2. There's a lot of mountain driving. It's actually
Is there?
It's I honestly don't know where this film was shot. I didn't look into it, but it looks like pure California. And in Troll 2, there's a lot of mountain driving as well, but that's in Utah. But it's whenever you see the mountains, you see that I think it's like a station wagon that they're into. That's just classic road tripping. So they're on the road, and she falls asleep during this, right? And then she has a vision
More visions. Yep.
of the killer guy.
Yep, and she just starts freaking because it progresses throughout the movie where she keeps having these weird visions and it's kind of freaking her out. And occasionally it's like it'll slip into reality, and her friends are like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "Oh, nothing. Everything's fine." They stop for some snacks or some bull crap or whatever, and she has a vision of her sister crashing into the car, or coming up to the car. And then they all snap her out of it.
With like her throat slit. It was kind of cool.
Blood
I kinda
everywhere
liked
and
the
whatever.
gore effects, yeah.
So that happens, and they finally get to their condo.
So, real quick, this whole movie is essentially a horror movie. I've
Right.
noticed. Like that scene is kind of creepy. Those things, whatever. It reminds me of like Nightmare on Elm Street. It's genuinely creepy. But when you mix this dude out of nowhere, because he's also, isn't he like outside the car as well at that point when they're parked at the supermarket?
I don't think so. If anything, I would say it's probably more of those random ass shots of guitar playing and just quick cuts of him.
Well, that's the thing. There's so many of these like weird dream sequence cuts that I personally can't remember what parts they're at. And
Don't
what parts
forget
they're
also,
not.
let's also make clear those weird ass close up shots that were throughout the entire movie. Remember how like you would be sitting there and be like, that was a really weird camera angle?
Yes.
And it's like this is really awkward, just staring directly into the camera.
The cinematography is awful.
Yeah,
in
it's
this movie.
really flipping weird.
Absolutely awful. It's not natural. It feels incredibly forced. The one scene that we're talking about where they're in the station wagon car, it's the four girls. Is it four?
Yeah,
No,
it's four.
it's
four.
five.
No, it's
No.
four.
Oh yeah. Okay. So it is four.
Yeah, it's four.
Four girls. They're in the car, and it's like the dream sequence. And how you know it's the dream sequence is the camera kind of like pans back and all their faces, and there's like lights and stuff. It feels dreamy. They do that in Troll 2 as well. So
Oh my god.
they're getting a lot. I mean, Troll 2 I think came out in '88, so it was maybe Troll 2 got inspiration
From this, it's possible.
Who knows?
I feel like horror, real quick, is like the rap community of movies, in the sense that like rap is known for sampling like every other song.
Yeah.
And like horror movies are like sampling every other horror movie, is what I get. I'm
But
not
rap
biggest.
and hip hop usually doesn't good. Well, back in the day they did it good, but
Yeah.
nowadays, with this, like no, this is not. It's taking tributes from other movies and just forcing them into your movies.
Yeah.
Maybe this scene is not this dream, but I know that the dream sequence feeling of it is definitely. It's been in Hellraiser, it's been in Nightmare on Elm Street. Even the first Halloween, like the intro scene with Michael killing his sister and stuff. That's kind of dreamy and stuff. I think that's the whole premise of the movie, and like we'll find out at the end when we talk about it and stuff. Nothing's really cleared up at the end. Like we'll talk about that.
Not the slightest.
But I'm just saying, like, the amount of dream sequences thought it was gonna build up to something, because usually when you do dream sequences and stuff, this movie overuses it as a trope consistently.
Yeah, it's just like
throughout the
literally
film.
there's no reason to be using it, because it just ends up confusing everything.
Everywhere and you don't know what's reality, what's not reality.
Not in a good way either, because there's movies that are like that where you're trying to question what's actually real and what isn't. Instead, it's just a complete mess.
So they get to the house.
Finally, yeah.
Finally, they get to the house. They settle in. It's kind of funny. Like I was pointing out, how like it's like a brand new condo, brand new
no
house.
furniture.
No furniture or anything. And the one character actually makes a joke. She was like, "You brought us here just to unpack all your dad's stuff and all this kind of stuff."
She's like, oh, you're funny. And
You're
like,
funny. Yeah, and then there's just some like weird bonding between all of them and everything. And
Well, let's talk about that this next scene, which is the most. You're the horror aficionado of the two of us. The most like stereotypical like horror slasher.
yes,
Kids getting naked or whatever, because they decide to spend their first night there, because there aren't supposed to be any boys there yet. They spend their first night getting wasted off of dad's liquor,
Yes.
Eating a bunch of junk. But my favorite part, just completely getting naked and sexual out of nowhere.
Yep.
With each other.
Putting on music, dancing to it. I think Nightmare on Elm Street was a huge kind of precursor to this, to be 100% honest. Scream made fun of it a lot, which was directed by Wes Craven as well.
Yeah, but that was a satire.
Yeah, which it was a serious horror movie, but also like was self-aware, you know.
That what it
where
was.
this movie, I thought it was being self-aware. It kind of felt self-aware at times, like it was being goofy and funny. Like we looked up on IMDb, it does explain itself as a horror comedy.
Yeah.
Obviously, with a guy with a guitar killing people, totally get that. But this scene in general, it just I don't know if they were shooting for generic horror movie or they were
Yeah.
shooting for a comedic effect.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't really work as a comedy.
That's the
'cause
thing. I
yeah.
don't see this actually being as in 1987. I don't see this being as prominent as, say, if you were to
Yeah.
do this in like 2005, 2006, even nowadays, if you were to do it and stuff. Totally, we've seen this 24/7. We
Yeah.
know what it is. In this movie, I'm not sure. I think it was more of like just it's a slumber party, so we
Yeah.
gotta show it's a slumber
Right.
party, and
The
this
most
is what
stereotypical
girls.
way, yeah.
This is what girls do at slumber parties. They just get in it. It's like written by a fucking incel or something.
Yeah,
It
it's
was-
hilarious because we were literally calling it as it was happening, which was first they're drinking, then they start splashing just the champagne or whatever the heck
Yep.
they were drinking all over the place. He's like, I'm so wet.
And then there's feathers for some reason because they were hitting each other
Right.
with
Pillows, because that's
Pillow
what girls do.
fights.
Pillow fights.
And then Beavis and Butthead come up to the window, so
Yeah.
the guys that they are, I guess,
boyfriends of a couple of them.
some just dudes, I guess, that just hang out and fuck them or something like that. But
They're not really clear, but it's supposed to be, I guess, the boyfriends of a couple of the girl band. So
they look into this, they're like, and he even says what I said when I was watching this is, so that's what girls do during a
Slumber party.
slumber party, sleepover,
Oh my
whatever
God, kill me
word
now.
they used. God damn it! It was just like, and all right, let's talk about these two guys because we get introduced to these two gentlemen.
yeah.
The first dude is the more preppy type. He is, I don't exactly remember his name. He's the blonde one.
Yeah, he's a blonde one.
He's shown like wearing those. Are those
Sweater
cardigans?
vests.
Yeah, sweater
Sweater
vests. Like typical preppy.
like really like uptight. Like he's just got the tightest butthole of all time. And he
Ever.
loves chess and playing badminton and everything. And he talks like a two. It's the Chi Willikers is like, oh gosh darn it, darling.
the most stereotypical white dude ever. And so this is Jeff and TJ.
TJ, and then TJ is
TJ, the butthead looking dude,
Yeah.
or as you said, he looked like Justin Long.
look like a discount Justin Long.
No, when I think of Justin Long, I think of he was in actually a really good horror movie, Jeepers Creepers. If you've ever seen that before.
Yeah, which if you ever heard about the actual story of how that was made, the director, it's actually more of a horrifying tale than the movie
We're gonna
itself.
have, yeah. I would definitely look into it. That movie was kind of creepy. Definitely, I will
I've seen
say,
it.
as a horror.
But yeah, discount Justin Long, and then preppy whatever his name was. Would you say his name was Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff. It's
Wow,
Jeff.
God, that's so stupid. You got
Matt,
Jeff and TJ.
Jeff. You got all these.
Matt.
The only like out there dude is the TJ guy, the kind of just like out there annoying.
Yeah, completely.
Do the laugh. Literally, that you will hear that fucking laugh this whole movie. I guess they were trying to portray like the California stoner, like,
Yeah, like, to the T.
idiot kind of like surfer dude or whatever. But he also wears a leather jacket throughout this whole movie.
Yes.
Even when he is getting out of the pool, he is wearing
In
a
the
leather
pool.
jacket. See, I thought they were going to allude that this guy was secretly the killer.
Yeah.
Because he looks like as they call it in this, the IMDb listing, the driller killer.
Driller kill, which is what they called me in high school.
Exactly. You were drilling all those babes and then just dumping them in the,
Killing their hearts.
Wait, you didn't, oh. You went to high school?
I went to a high school, yeah. That's where I would find the girls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you went to the high school.
No, I went
that
to a high
Courtney
school.
went to in this movie.
Oh, I went to that one too.
Okay.
It was one of on my bucket list.
This dude TJ or whatever, I still like don't know what they were trying, because a lot of times you put a character in a movie,
Yeah.
in slashers they're usually just bait, they're just ready to be killed off
Yeah.
and ready to do whatever. He kept like instigating her a lot of the time, like that one part
Yeah.
which we'll talk about later.
Because
in the pool.
that's coming next.
That's coming up. Let's just get into that. All right,
Yeah.
let's
So they all get together finally.
so yeah, they come in the back door. The fridge is open, which I think actually is on the. It wasn't the front cover. I've seen that still of the refrigerator open and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looks
Please
super
don't tell
familiar.
me that's a poster.
That
a fridge
definitely
open.
is. Yeah, I think there's an '80s movie with like
Oh
some.
my god! The only thing that'd be a horror movie for me is if the fridge was empty and had nothing in it for me to eat. That'd be a horror movie I'd never want to be in.
Let's recount tonight. You ate 4 pieces of corn.
Yes.
You ate like 3 chicken breast sandwiches. How
Yes.
many? Okay, you ate a crap load of cauliflower, broccoli,
Uh huh.
sugar pea. Damn, that was That was a lot. So yeah, I could see why it would be a horror movie.
Yeah,
to
I
you.
don't understand what the issue is here. I just had a nice meal.
So after that, after that happens in the movie, the next day, because when she goes to bed at night, she has another dream, and then she wakes up on the kitchen floor. More nightmares.
Yeah, another weird ass nightmare about going all the way, and him. Like I said, it continues to get more and more crazy. Of like you said, you see the boots first, then the leather jacket. Now he's doing full on like Michael Jackson dance videos. With a smoke machine, weird lights, and a giant ass weird looking guitar.
Yes.
And that, like I said,
guitar looks pretty cool, to be honest.
It is.
The top of it looks awkward. Like if you looked at it like the top of the head or whatever, it looks like a piece of wood. But the bottom, like all those cool designs.
Yeah,
and
like
shit.
how it's got like all the weird like winding shapes and stuff in it. Yeah, but like so it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Like
the dreams are just bizarre.
And she ends up on the. I don't even remember how she got. It was something really stupid, but she got on the kitchen floor.
She ends up in the kitchen floor, but then it goes to them hanging out by the pool. Okay, and the first part that I remember is that the hamburger part with the food.
No, that comes next.
I keep trying to relate that to what you're saying. Okay, so
first
start up with it.
First, it's they're at the pool. She's already having an episode because it's kind of got that, like we talked about, that psychological thriller more for some reason for a little while because this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. And then her friend comes out with breakfast, which is just 4 giant glasses of just juice. She says just juice. Why don't you, as she's regaling her tale of her nightmare the night previous, she's like, oh, why don't you just have a glass of juice and some toast and you'll feel better.
These friends suck, okay? I took a couple psychology and counseling courses in college, so I'm highly qualified to talk about it.
You went to college.
But you do not, if somebody is going through a trauma like this, you don't keep pushing it off. And I know that's the classic horror movie trope of,
is that
this thing's happening, nobody believes me. Totally get that. But I feel like mainly her friends, her mom is kind of, I don't even think she talks to her mom about this.
No. She mentions the dream at the beginning with the mom's like, oh, that's the therapist said.
Okay. So the mom is even. Everybody in this fucking movie is horrible to her, and no wonder she's having these horrible nightmares and stuff like that. But yeah, the friends like that when she just it's like me trying to tell you something, and you're like, eat up. But wait, that normally already happens here, anyways.
Right, it is because you're supposed to be a man and eat my food.
And and your candy as well.
Yes, as much. Yeah, that way I can slowly poison you.
For those listening at home, every time, if you haven't noticed from our other podcast, every time I come over, we eat. You make a delicious meal.
We have a tradition.
It's a tradition, and I highly recommend everyone out there to do that because to me, it's given me some routine during this pandemic. It's a great thing to do, but. We were eating candy for like 3 weeks straight. Every time I came over, I was down in like a bag as well as you.
I was so proud of you.
But like a week or two ago, what was it? It's like acne or something. Just something exploded on my neck.
Pretty much just your throat just exploded.
Something literally. Yeah, I literally had a huge thing on my neck, and I just and I
went to your doctor. Doctor was like, no more candy.
Literally, and sorry to sidetrack, but holy crap! Like not eating sugar has actually like helped clear that up. But we still have our dinners, and we appreciate that. So
and they're still just as romantic.
So if you guys ever hear within the podcast us talking about that, that is why. So speaking of food, though, she says that, and then she gets pushed in the pool.
Yeah, remember they all come out because they want to enjoy their glasses of juice.
Everybody comes out.
They all come out.
The band, yep.
Homeboy comes out with the blow up doll that they found. Remember we forgot to talk about that.
That's a weird scene. I didn't even want to talk about it. They find a blow up doll in one of these rooms, and then he says it's about his brother. It's about Sheila's brother.
Kept saying Amy, the dumb blonde.
Was it Amy's brother?
Yeah, she kept saying about her pervert brother had this blow up doll, and they're just like all like really weird, just like laughing.
It's like,
about
why
it.
Is it there then? And it's like, dude, that thing's probably sticky. And
But they're all playing with it, and our homeboy TJ, he plays with it, and
he jumps right in the pool
with it.
Just
probably licks it up.
Jumps in, splashes everywhere, gets out of the pool, then starts like harassing the girl, Courtney, about everything, and then pushes her in the pool. We get this cool shot, which I told you is actually pretty cool. It's basically a shot of Courtney's perspective of falling in the pool, which I've never really seen in a movie, but it's like getting pushed in the pool, and then the camera goes from,
It's point of view, pretty much.
Yeah, from the outside point of view deep into the pool, which is really cool that like I don't know, I just felt like it was really cool that like you were able that they were able to capture that. And then it's like, oh, she's getting attacked by the killer or something like that.
She's having more
she goes into like a
visions.
trance or something, and then
So stupid.
then she gets pulled up by her friends. She sits down, and this is where I was going when talking about the dinner that we have. You've never fed me a hamburger with a bunch of ketchup and a fucking hand on it.
Well, I mean, not that you know of. Yeah, so, no, I never
That's
did
what that ground beef was. That over.
It was really good food tonight, wasn't it? Man, that just tasted really good today.
That was great.
Yeah, it was a good sandwich. Anyway, so...
So then after that, I don't remember what happens after this
well,
part.
it becomes pretty much just a clusterfuck of her just slowly losing it. Pretty much that's just like for the next... Like, that's the crazy about, like, yes, I get it. Like, sometimes movies are slow burns, but I thought the whole point of slasher movies was that it hits a point where everybody just starts dying.
Yeah.
And this movie literally takes, like, 45 years to get to this point.
I think the first death was at least 45 minutes to
At
an
least,
hour
because what happens is next she just starts spiraling out of control in a weird, I'd say somewhat serious, but I don't even know. It's like somewhat serious way of where she keeps like running into her friends thinking that they're dying, seeing visions of them dying.
And the most, I would say the most one, the one that we want to talk about the most, I can't even form sentences right now, this movie. The one that I would talk about the most is that one scene that was actually pretty cool was her in the bath. So the one friend, I was like, why is the drummer girl consistently, like I said, horrible friend?
Yeah.
Courtney is like, oh, about this whole, I keep having these visions today. And she's like, yeah, I'm having a bad weekend too. I'm getting acne.
Yeah, she keeps talking about pimples, and she's like, I just got the biggest bit in my face, and I just can't believe it. I'm losing it.
God damn. It's like someone's trying to talk to you about their traumatic experiences, barely escaping, the first movie and everything like that. And you're just like, the acne that I have to,
Yeah, that'd be like if I said, hey, see, my dad just got shot the other day, and I lost my sister to cancer, and you're like, yeah, man, do you see this toenail I got over here? God, it's just hangnail.
Ingrown,
or really hurts.
Like, damn.
Really hurts. And that's exactly what happens. Because it builds up, like it is difficult because to keep track of it, but it was like...
She keeps saying it multiple times.
Freaking out. They tell her, okay, go take a bath. And this is why she's in the bathroom to begin with. Like, go take a bath, that'll calm you down. And she does, and it's Nightmare on Elm Street, kind of like, blood everywhere.
Yeah.
You could do this better than that.
Like I said, in It, which came out a couple of years later, but it was already written into a book. It was a Stephen King book. The one girl, Beverly, sees in the sink blood and tries to show her dad. And it's been a portrayed thing in horror forever. But in this one,
she freaks out. She brings up Amy, the dumb blonde, and then this is
check it out. And then she was talking about the pimple.
Yeah.
It was a cool shot, though, I think, where it was like, it was showing Courtney reacting to, so like, it would be like, reacting to what she was saying. And Courtney was just like looking down, then looks up, and then kind of like deer in headlights looks at her. I thought that was a cool little reaction. And then it shows.
Yeah, her pimple continues to keep getting bigger. Like
kind of like the thing on my neck.
Let's hope it doesn't get that big. But first it starts off like big and nasty. Then it gets bigger and it like engulfs her entire face. And to the point where it literally starts just exploding, pussing out all over.
Green,
and I have to agree that actually was a good effect.
That was really
and it
cool.
was probably one of the only like good touches of this movie was that, because like that is some creepy stuff. Like if that was happening to you in real life. But so of course she freaks out about that. She runs downstairs, and then here comes Matt. He finally shows up.
Matt comes out of nowhere.
He's in the house. He's already in the house with her.
And she is talking to him like he's been there the whole weekend, which was bizarre. There's no intro or anything. Like, Matt, oh my God, I missed you so much, because she keeps having dreams about him.
It literally just he's in the living room.
Which, not explained. Why the fuck did it take him 2 days to get there? Why was he not there at the first time?
Nope, none of that.
We don't know.
Then they go upstairs to check it out.
They can't find her.
Nope, can't find Amy. Amy's gone.
So then they go back downstairs, meet up with everybody else, and they hear that sound coming from the trash compactor. Mm-hmm. So Matt calls the cops.
They call Officer Kruger and Officer Voorhees, who come on scene. and find out that there's nothing wrong. And
Nothing wrong, because Amy walks in the door, and then I think it was the one guy, I think it was TJ, he's like, "You're not supposed to be here right now.
You're supposed to be dead."
And whatever. The cops are pissed off, so...
And they give some really weird-ass point of view shot. No, it's not a point of view. Real weird-ass close-up shots of themselves talking to the kids.
Really weird
quote,
and bizarre.
Quote kids, calling them brats as they're like 35 years old.
Yeah.
You know.
And they're like pointing at them and shit, and like, you damn kids.
Don't waste my time, or I'm gonna, murder you all.
Well,
I'm a cop.
This was in the first Friday the 13th, actually. In the first Friday the 13th, a cop is has the same role. It's a little bit different in the first one.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines from the movie, he says, "Never keep the chief waiting." And he's got those like big, like classic aviator sunglasses, like the traditional one.
The
and
mirrored ones you can't see, the eyeballs.
He's pretty much there as the police presence. I realized in this movie, though, he's there as the more like, both of them are there for like the, "Oh, you damn kids, we're not going to believe you," because later in the film they do call the cops and they don't believe them. Yeah. So anyways, after this scene,
that's done. They're questioning her sanity, and it's spiraling or whatever. Eventually,
so they go out. All the friends go out, and then the girl and Matt brings her a cake, which I said reminded me of Samurai Cop.
It was so stupid. Like, there was no way he had that cake.
Because it's her birthday, and you said I didn't remember, but apparently she had a birthday.
Yeah, I mentioned it to her mom earlier in the movie, but just
this dude just whipped up a cake out of nowhere. Thank God for the prop department, because they just brought that out of nowhere.
God. And he's like, "I sing you happy birthday, but I don't want to offend you or something." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, all right, man. That's exactly how a 17-year-old dude would talk to you." But so they have some weird ass interaction with this cake, and then they finally get to sleeping.
Oh, they start getting down to it. They can't make out because they're like, kind of just like closing their mouth on top of each other.
I like to call it. I like to call it open mouth bass fishing because you notice a lot of how. And I get, like, just a real quick sidetrack. I get it. I understand what it is. It's because you're uncomfortable.
Oh,
and when you're uncomfortable, what do you usually do? You usually close your eyes and just hope for the best. If you watch people, literally watch actors, you can tell the difference between actors that are comfortable kissing each other and ones that aren't. Mm-hmm. Not just by the, like the really obvious visual cues, but look at them. Most of the times, they'll close their eyes and they'll do the open mouth bass fishing with the windshield wipers. So what that is they'll go like this, and they'll
move the face around,
and they'll just literally just go back and forth until it's over. And so that's exactly what was happening here.
There was no chemistry between Matt and Courtney.
Not a single ounce. And they're over here, trying to slobber all over each other, and then literally, it just like that
transitions. Yeah. It's not even like a dream sequence or anything. It just transitions super quick. He gets killed,
drilled through the chest.
Yes, the classic drill comes out of the guitar. Finally gets used, goes right through his chest. She runs downstairs. So
wait,
at this
don't forget. He gets drilled through the chest, and then she's freaking out, wondering if it's actually a dream or whatever. And he said, "Oh, it's not," or whatever. The crazy Andrew Dice Clay guy. Yeah. He rips off his arm. He drills him through the chest. Okay, doesn't touch any.
Sorry for rushing him, but yeah. So this scene was weird too, like you were saying. Yeah. All right, if I drilled you in the chest right now, your hand is not coming off unless the drill moved upward into the shoulder.
It did. Well, if you're watching it, literally the guy was like, his arms were off you saw the practical effect.
His arms
were off to the side, is going right through his chest.
Right near like the heart region.
Literally, right through the sternum, near the heart, right through the chest. Mm-hmm. And then when she's like, "Oh, this must be a dream. It must be a dream." And he's like, "Oh, it ain't no dream, baby." And he literally rips off the guy's arm and is holding it and waving it at her like, "Oh, how?"
I think that was put in the movie because of the part with the hamburger and the hand and shit in there. I think that was being alluded to it.
Maybe.
This is like what I was talking about with like Ghost House, when we talked about that as well. It's like kind of like dreams or like some kind of like paranormal element is somehow predicting the future of the film. Yeah. Because in that film, they kept getting the radio, which was the actual person's death later in Ghost House. Yeah. In this film, she keeps having visions about things that are about to happen. So I thought maybe the hand, because I don't think there's any other decapitation, like like limb decapitation
Yeah.
within this movie.
No.
Does decapitation mean just the head, or does it?
Oh yeah,
mean,
yeah. No, because you wouldn't.
It means all the limbs,
You
right?
would call it no. Decapitation is for the head.
Just
It'd
the
be
head.
amputation.
Amputation
for anything
okay.
for your limbs.
So yeah, like the
So
limb.
you wouldn't say I decapitated his arm. You would say I amputated his arm or cut it off.
Well, that's good. I've been watching a lot of Jeffrey Dahmer documentaries, so I will keep that in my back pocket just in case.
You're not staying over tonight.
No, I'm not, and I don't normally stay over, by the way, as you have brought up before that I stay the night.
It's the truth.
We're not going to let the people know, okay?
It is the truth.
Anyways. We don't have slumber parties because we would get massacred.
Absolutely, by rock and roll horror shows with giant drills on their guitars.
By Justin Long, yes.
So next, Andrew Dice Clay.
Wait, no, because I'm getting mixed up. I keep thinking Andrew Dice Clay and Justin Long are the same person.
No, Justin Long is TJ's pot
They're
smoker.
both wearing fucking
leather jackets.
No,
and
I don't
else.
think I'm gonna just spoil it because who the fuck cares about this movie? He doesn't get killed in a leather jacket. I don't think.
No, because
TJ.
the best lead up to his death is that after he kills Matt.
So let's just go in order and then rush to that scene.
After he kills Matt. Then literally it begins like the most like anticlimactic like killing spree of all time.
He's just like running through the house.
Not even running. He was just casually like coming through the house like
Bugs
shaking
Bunny
his ass, Elvis Presley style with his guitar drill, and they all just like I guess helplessly don't know what to do.
They like split up because I know
literally
two
to the
of
point.
them.
Or remember, what's his name attacks him with a lamp. And it's like the most.
Yeah, I was like, why the hell's he picking up that lamp?
It's like the most
Jeff
lazy.
Picked it up. Yep, Jeff picked it up.
It's like the most lazy defense of all time. He literally just like grabs the lamp and kind of goes, and he's just like, oh, and then like literally, what's his name? TJ. He so-called tries to attack him. It's a real lame fight. He gets drilled in the leg, and then literally everybody gets killed, one by one.
And then
slowly,
yes,
like just the slowest.
Well, they
kills of all
do,
time.
and on the way, Courtney tries to call the police, and
so TJ gets drilled in the leg, and then
Courtney and
he runs off with his girlfriend.
Yes.
But literally they split up, like you said, like you were trying to explain. They split up, and then you remember what happens next?
And then they split up, and then I was saying Courtney and her friend try to call the police. He drills through the wall for that. So then everybody runs out of the house.
Right, he drills who through the wall, though, remember?
Straight through the wall, which hits the phone.
Right,
so...
no, I'm saying who does he drill through?
Oh, that Amy?
Yeah, that dumbass Amy chick. She literally
So it's alluded that,
she's
like, no.
She's like standing, doesn't do anything. Literally just slowly walks into a corner and goes,
She accepted that
no,
death.
yeah, no. And then
she said she was having a bad weekend with the acne.
She was
ready to go, dude.
Think about it. Teenage girls do it all the time. They're like, I look so ugly. I just want to die. Well, she got her wish.
There you go.
She got her wish.
Exactly. So then, drills through Amy gets drilled through the wall, which breaks the phone, which means
real hard.
It's funny because, like I said, they called 911 and they get a voicemail, operator voicemail
for 911.
What? That's not even a thing, dude. Why not just like you're calling and while you're calling the phone breaks? They don't even have to get through. I don't know who decided that there's a voicemail for 911, but anyways, so all of them split up like Scooby and the gang would. Mm-hmm. They all split up. Yeah, they all split up, and then after that, they all just get killed one by one.
Yeah, and it's the most lazy way. She dies first, then they run outside for some reason.
She as in...
Courtney, Jeff, Snow White. I'll call him Snow White because he's so white, that dude. Jeff, and then the other chick... what the hell is that?
Sheila or Sally? One of them.
No, Sally, yeah, his girlfriend. And they run outside. Then you cut back and forth between TJ and his girlfriend, Sheila, like just running through the neighborhood.
TJ's like leg is destroyed, so they're just trying to run through the neighborhood. They run up to a car at one point, which is literally filmed in the driveway of the house that they were shooting in. This car just randomly pulls up and then just drives away.
They're
not even on a road. You do that if you're on a road in a movie, okay? You don't do that if you're in a fucking driveway of somebody's house.
No one helps them, but still there's like no houses around. Doesn't make any sense why this is even a problem anymore. They already ran off, and then on the other, they flip back to the other the trio there, and they're looking for the car keys.
Yeah.
They come in for the car keys. Okay, they make an escape for the car. They get in, And of course, AC notices the doors open. It's like, of course, like
So
what else,
when
you know?
when they get to the car, the classic horror movie trope is like, you got to get to the car won't start or whatever. So of course the car doesn't start, but then it eventually does. They get on the road. You called it. He's in the back seat. Driller killer's ready to go. Kills Jeff
Right through the seat.
right through the front seat, and then the two girls get out.
And run back to the fucking house.
They decide to run back to the house for some reason. And so then we cut to TJ and who is that? Sheila. And they finally found a house because what was cool, which I actually noticed when I lived in California, is there's a lot of areas that are like newly built and they'll just leave the whole like one or two houses in, which is funny. I don't tell my mom, but I actually dated this one girl who lived in, it was Tinder at the time. So
it was what?
It was Tinder, so it wasn't anything too serious.
Okay, hold on, I gotta go make a phone call. Hold
on. At that time, I remember pulling up to this girl's house and in the neighborhood.
His mom. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Can you put the phone down for a sec?
Yeah.
When I dated this girl, actually, when I got to her house, she was like one of the 3 or 4 houses in the neighborhood that was being built. There was so many other houses in construction, so that's kind of like how this is with the condos, and they're all being built and
so
stuff like
that. That's a legit thing.
So, what I'm saying is that like it's like. I think what they're trying to say is this condo area is newly being built. So TJ and the girl runs up and they're like, "Oh, finally a house!" Finally, like I said, that works more in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of way. In Texas Chainsaw Massacre, have you seen it?
No, I've not.
Oh my god, that movie's a classic. But I think her name is Marilyn Burns. She runs up to this one house after seeing one of her friends get killed. She runs up to, it's like a gas station next to a house, and she's like, "Oh my god, you're the only one around here. You're the only one here. Like, I'm taking some kind of, what is it, solace, or I'm taking refuge or something. Like, thank God, whatever." And then you find out that he's related to
the
Leatherface. Yeah, to the killers. So in this sense, it was like, oh my God, finally a house that's there's somebody here. We can
be safe.
So they knock on the door or whatever, and then who comes out of nowhere? We see, like
literally,
I said, you see
out of nowhere.
You hear the guitar playing, and the driller killer kills
TJ.
Yes.
TJ. Now I had a feeling that he didn't kill the girl yet because I saw her just getting her on the arm. But AC thought she was dead.
I thought she got killed because they don't even show really what happens to her.
They just show that he stabs TJ, and then of course, as like a joke, then the guy who actually lives at the condo opens the door and is like, "Damn kids," and then closes the door.
Yeah.
And then
which looks like Chuck Norris, like we pointed out. This dude, he's scruffy, he's redhead, he just kind of looks like Chuck.
Well, let's be real. If it was Chuck Norris, he would have just killed the driller killer
by looking at him.
Yeah, he would have just looked out of his window and would have instantly just died. And then when the movie would have been over, so it wouldn't have been a movie.
Exactly.
So then...
Oh my God, imagine the driller killer in Missing in Action.
Oh my God.
Holy shit, imagine that. What a movie. But...
Missing in Action. This was missing in horror. That's what it is.
God, yeah.
This is missing in horror. So the girls...
Now there's 2 left, right? No, there's 3 left.
Two left at the house.
2 left at the house. We've got Courtney and the other girl.
Sally. And
Sally at the house. The one guitarist.
Yeah, they're barricaded. They're barricaded in the one bedroom.
Yes.
For what reason, no one knows.
No.
So then you find out that Sheila E. there is alive, and she's trying to make it back to the house. She makes it back to the house, into the house, stumbles in, but she can't get them to open the door because they're not listening. Then cue probably my favorite part of the entire movie, which is the driller killer guy shows up.
Oh, he's ready. This is like I said, The Mask. He's literally ready to go.
He has a music video for the next 5 minutes of him singing and dancing.
Yes.
Throughout the entire house.
This is where I noticed it was comedy. The rest of the movie, it was a little bit out there and bizarre, but I've seen some bizarre horror movies that still take themselves seriously. This part right here, complete comedy. Comedy, musical comedy, whatever.
Just ridiculous.
They play some weird, I call this kind
50s, rockabilly.
Yeah, I call it fart rock. This is
fart rock.
Fart rock, literally, that's all I hear when I hear this shit. And it's him dancing all over the place and going crazy. He's so happy to be killing these people. He's a very enthusiastic killer.
Yeah.
One of the
very
first that I've seen. Freddy Krueger does this, but not in the capacity that this guy just has a ball with it.
Which again, here we go again with the hey, we're paying homage to all these horror movies because like I said, I don't watch a bunch of them, but I do know like the basics, which I do know that Freddy Krueger breaks the fourth wall a lot.
Yes.
Like he talks to the audience.
Yes,
It's the same thing that this guy's doing because at the
Yep.
time he turned to the camera and he was like, "Oh, I'm ready to have a fun time. Are they about to have a fun time? Or like something stupid or whatever."
Freddy
you know?
is always breaking that fourth wall. In the
Yeah.
later movies, in the first one, you barely see Freddy Krueger throughout that whole movie. He
Yeah.
is just kind of just an afterthought in the first movie. But when
Yeah.
they realized Freddy Krueger was going to be the next Michael Myers and the next Jason,
Yeah,
dude,
they're like, well, might as well.
let's
just
throw him in. He doesn't want a lot of one-liners,
Yep.
which this guy
Dark
does in
humor.
this movie.
Same
He
thing.
loves music puns. He loves anything related to rock and roll.
So
and
he takes 30 years singing and dancing to get up the stairs. They won't let her in
Yep.
because they can't hear, because this is an actual singing, like a song where they can't actually hear her.
Yeah.
So she's trying to get in and they're not listening. And he eventually, takes his sweet ass time shaking his ass in her face and
Yep.
finally then kills her with a drill. Then
kills her through the door,
through
right?
the door with the drill.
So this girl is basically trying to get into the room that the
Mm-hmm.
other two friends are in.
Yep.
Why don't you just go in another room and hide?
Anything. Whatever. I mean, even like, they didn't even hear, she's literally outside the door. How could they not
Banging
hear?
on the door. There's a bunch
Yeah.
of other rooms she could have went in, but she somehow knows her friends are in there, and then they're gonna let her in and whatever, and then whatever it is, gone, and then
She dead, and then-
this is the part where I really phased out. Like I
Yeah.
literally was like looking into space at this part. He drills through the door,
A bunch of times. Finally
breaks
crashes through.
yeah. They put a dresser behind the door, breaks that or whatever.
Which the dresser was heavy when they were taking like 40 years to try to move it to get it out of the way for the Sheila girl. But then as soon as he drills through it, it's like magically just like made of paper.
Yeah,
And it's literally
drops,
like flying everywhere. And so then they run off.
They go on the roof and they're running around the roof and shit like that.
and he's on the roof, doing a...
just going crazy, having a
Absolutely,
good time.
yeah.
This guy had a fun time making this movie, dude.
Oh, I mean, listen, if someone came to you and said, "Hey, man, you're gonna play this greaser murderer with
Yeah.
a guitar that has a drill at the top, and you're just gonna sing and dance your way through," you're gonna be like, "Hell yeah, let's do it. Let's have some fun."
Yeah.
But then, I guess you can't really even say the word chase, but he chases them to one of the condos that's being built,
Yep.
and then continues further with a chase of slowly slashing the one girl, Sally, a couple times, getting her, and all the while singing the entire time, which is pissing AC off the entire
he is
time. Music does
going.
not stop.
Does not, and it's so fucking awkward, dude. Like, if this music or whatever had like a very deep and scary, it doesn't at all. The music does not fit in this movie, and that's what I said differs it from a horror movie compared to a comedy horror movie. Is the music. You take out all this goofy fart rock music that's splattered.
Fart rock.
Yeah, and you like the splattered pun. It's splattered throughout this movie and shit like that. You take that out of the way, it's actually a pretty, like, decent, not saying it's a good one, but I'm saying it's a pretty decent 80s slasher film. But when you add this music into it, it just gets so
Yeah, cheesy is what you're trying to say.
cheesy, and the comedy within it just doesn't fit because, like I said, so when after this part they're running from the roofs, they're just running away from a killer. It's a classic running away from a killer scene, and they're hiding from the killer. It cuts to the music of him playing, and he's like drilling through the floor and stuff,
dancing
and
singing.
everything, and then they're running away even more, and this girl trips. Wow.
Supposedly trips,
She
but literally
just
launches
like
herself out the
forces
window.
herself out of this like construction building window or whatever it is.
Because if you because AC replayed it, there's a ledge. If she like he was telling me as we were watching it, if she walked backwards and fell out, it'd be one thing.
It would
but she
make
didn't.
sense.
She literally like leapt over it, going forward.
She like
flipped around
literally
to grab
bent
it.
down to grab it
Yeah.
to turn around.
Yeah.
She's hanging off the edge classically. Then the driller killer comes out of nowhere, chops her hand, and basically like I mean, it doesn't really chop her, nips at her, and then
Nips
she
at it.
falls
She
back.
falls, dies.
She's dead, so now it's just Courtney.
Just lone
This
survivor.
part I was on my phone because I was like, this is so bizarre, and I was just looking at trivia for this and everything. So if
wanna
you
take
want
it?
to say
Okay.
it, because it's
So,
like a blowtorch or something.
So we end up with the last girl. They get to the roof of this kind of being built, And it's the final confrontation. He's doing the hey baby. He's the entire time he's like lighting up cigarettes and
he wants to like fuck this girl throughout
yeah.
this whole movie. I think that's like maybe her like repressed feeling of like a man that's just trying to take advantage of her.
Something or
Not
something.
explained at all. Like I said,
No, but
and
again, that's you looking too much into it.
too deep into this
Too
movie,
deep.
Yes.
Well, because he wasn't deep enough in her. You got to look deep enough into the movie. That's the problem.
Exactly.
You got to make up for it. So they're on the top confrontation, and she finds just a blowtorch and a source of a spark, and he's like, what was it? Oh, come on, baby, light my fire. And she's like,
oh no,
I just
he
can't
said
wait.
that?
Yes, he said, come on, baby, light my fire. She's like, I can't wait. And then
because he also said, I can't get no satisfaction, which is a Rolling Stones lyric, and then now he's doing a Doors lyric.
He said, come on, baby, light my fire. And she was like, oh, I would love to. And then she went, Ch-. And then just weird ass awkward transition that he's on fire, and then he just falls off the side of the building.
Yeah, and he like when he fell, there's like 3 different camera angles. I don't know.
Yeah,
because
it was like it was a weird, probably a cut of the guy pretending to be on fire.
Yes.
With the fire like juxtapositioned or whatever that's called when they put the 2 images together. Then there was a shot of the actual stunt double guy.
I was
on
talking
fire.
about the stunt double.
Okay.
Yeah, there is that weird like special effects part where it's like, where
they overlap.
Yeah, where it's like that weird overlap, but then it cuts to the dude on fire who falls off of the thing. What's funny though to me is how many angles they were showing. I don't know if you noticed this. It's like the classic where he falls, he's about halfway falling, and then they cut the camera, and then it shows him like just falling off again. It just keeps re-showing him falling. They were capitalizing off of this. They're like, damn, this is some good stunt work. Let's show this off multiple times.
Well, yeah, when he got so much money put into it.
Yeah.
Because by then they probably blew their wad and whatever, money they actually had in their budget left.
He didn't get to blow his wad, I'll tell you that.
Well, that's what call him a driller killer. Because
exactly.
his drill was killed.
And that's unfortunately what happens to him. He dies.
And then she is finally, like the next shot, she's finally like, the lone survivor. She's got a blanket on, 911's there, and they're pulling her friend away in a gurney, and she says stop. She wants to take a look at her friend one more time, and she pulls back.
This has been done,
by
the way. This has been done before.
That I do know, but also the execution, what comes next, is just so stupid in my opinion. Like, it absolutely ruins even further.
Yes.
She pulls it back to reveal that
her friend
is actually the killer laughing.
It's like weird ADR, like...
Yeah, he's laughing, she freaks out. Then whoosh, she wakes up and she's now it's revealed that it's a dream. For now, it's a dream.
So she's laying in bed with the Ken
Matt.
doll. Yeah, Matt, the Ken doll.
And she's lying there.
Like, everything's all good,
Everything's all fine. Everything's all great.
And then you see the smoke come up. You see the leather gloves. And who is it?
It is the driller killer. And then she starts freaking out. It freaks out again, or it cuts out again, and now she's in some dirty-ass asylum room where she's freaking out in the corner, and then all of a sudden a drill just comes up.
So she's actually in an asylum now, which...
I guess.
Big twist.
That's the thing. It's like,
I
guess, is that the twist? Because
is this the actual end? We don't know.
Doesn't even make any sense, honestly.
No.
Because what they're trying to do, what would have made more sense... Oh, so I guess we'll finish it. She's in the asylum... She's in the asylum bed freaking out, and then a drill comes up through the floor, and he's laughing, and then that's it. And it cuts to the same weird-ass font credit sequence of the end credits, which has got the swooping calligraphy and the really weird sensual letters.
In the music.
And so, but yeah, it didn't make any sense. Like,
no.
I get, because I know that's how Nightmare on Elm Street ends, is when they think that Freddy Krueger is defeated, and because they wanted a sequel... Then they changed it to when it was whoever is the mother or something.
Yeah, the mother, and then she gets dragged.
Yeah, she gets dragged to the window in like the most unrealistic practical
goofy
effect
way.
of like the
body getting dragged. That's such a cool effect, though. I love that.
The dummy getting pulled through.
It's
the same
a cliffhanger, though. Like that's essentially what it is. It's a cliffhanger. This.
But in this case, like, what is it exactly?
This is. I don't know exactly what this is.
Because it would have made more sense if it just ended with her waking up thinking it was a dream, and then she goes to kiss the guy, and it's still the driller killer guy. Then that would have been okay. Well,
this actually, to me, it can justify why the movie was so zany, because it basically could say at the end, it's been done plenty of times in literature where at the end of it, it was all a dream and the person's actually in a mental asylum.
They're just crazy.
Yeah.
And now okay, that might
And
be
whatever,
exactly
and
what
that's
you're
why
going for.
everything that the movie showed and stuff,
Was
the
all in
killer
her
and
head.
everything, was really all in her head. It was really bizarre and out there and wacky. And okay, I get that completely, but at the same time, show some realism at the end part. Like show a nurse coming in and like giving her a shot or something like that.
So because then
it feels like a dream. If it's
right,
not.
because then you just mentioned if that's her going crazy, but then the drill comes out again.
Yeah,
so
and then
it's
you
like,
see the drill,
well,
so
what
you're
the
like,
hell?
wait,
So-
is this a dream or not?
So she is crazy, but then she isn't because the dude's actually the driller killer's there, or like what?
Or maybe she gets sent to the asylum after this whole incident of this movie, and then the driller killer finally kills her in the asylum. Just show us something.
Yeah,
Don't go
no.
from, oh, it was all a dream, to, oh, it was all a dream. 2 times in a row, you can't do that because then we don't
didn't
know.
make any sense. Like, because there's plenty of movies that actually do that well about you questioning the reality of the movie. Like,
Oh,
is
of
it
course,
real?
yeah.
Which is fine, but like in this case, it's like just like what was the point of this movie? Because it went from okay, this is just a crazy zany thing to okay, maybe it's in her head, but then is it?
Yeah.
And it's not even a good way. It's just more just like that doesn't make any sense. You just went back and forth. You literally were like, okay, we're gonna do this way. No.
No, maybe we'll change it.
And then no, one more time. And I was like, and then they just like, oh, fuck.
Because if you're going to have a bad movie that's goofy and doesn't take itself seriously 24/7, at least have an ending that makes fucking sense. Doesn't have to be a good ending, but just have it make sense. That's all you ask for.
They could have just had it where she thought it was a dream.
Yep.
And then leaned over and started to make out with Matt. And then it was the driller killer guy.
Yep, and then that's the end of it right there.
Gone.
But nope,
Instead,
they just
it was
keep it going.
even further.
Which is funny because this movie is an hour and like 17
And it
minutes.
feels like 3 hours.
It did drag a little bit, and that's why I felt like this was a good movie though. To pick an hour and 17, it should have been harmless on the
you keep saying
on the
this.
cover.
You're like picking out guns and you're shooting yourself in the foot and you're going like, well, that wasn't that bad.
No,
That one was fine. That hole wasn't as big as the last one.
no, it's not that, dude. It's just listen. This is one of those movies that for a long period of time, despite seeing it back in the day at Blockbuster and all that kind of stuff, because I did read also that this was a very prominent high-selling VHS for the time, which makes sense. This has always been on free streaming movie networks forever. This was on YouTube for a long time. It was a free movie. Just a lot of those websites that can escape the copyright claims and stuff like that. This movie has always been floated around. Some people say the first and the original is a cult classic. I've also read that some people really enjoy this movie as well. I personally don't see any reason why anybody should watch this film anymore, to be honest.
Well, let's talk about a couple of things we liked and didn't like.
Okay.
You go first.
All right. I would say I liked the 80s atmosphere.
Okay.
We didn't really talk about it, but the scene where they're on the phone with each other, Matt's bedroom is really
Oh my
cool
god, yeah,
looking.
we didn't even talk about that. Was the most 80s
Ever.
men's room ever.
First of all, okay, I pointed out, I noticed one thing. In the background on the windows and stuff like that, there was like palm trees with this really cool like shadow effect. Looked super, I don't know how to even explain it, but just looked super like, it almost looked like it was in like Florida or something, but it was like palm tree. But I know that, California has plenty of palm trees, but this felt like just a classical like beach house thing mixed with like this really cool lighting in his room and all that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed this movie, to be 100% honest. I really enjoyed this movie in the aspects of how it looked, the 80s-ness in it, and some of the special effects I felt were really awesome.
Okay.
What I disliked about this movie was I couldn't tell if it was if it was an intentional comedy horror or it was
Unintentional
horror movie that had some bizarre concepts in it, but like at the end of the day they were like, when they like rewatched it in the final editing process, they were like, let's call this a horror comedy movie or something like that,
Yeah.
So yeah, what I definitely just disliked about it had to do with the whole music aspect of it. It felt incredibly forced. There's no reason, first of all, I said, to include something in your movie and not describe why it's in the movie. Okay? He's got a guitar that kills people. Totally get it. like I said, show us some backstory of, okay, this dude's abusive stepfather was into hair metal or
Yeah.
whatever it is. In some ways, this kind of looks like propaganda of like Christian people who hate rock and roll and hate hair metal and hate that. But like I said, not explained at all. The first movie, Slumber Party Massacre, was about a guy who kills people with drills. Second movie, you randomly include music for no reason, or maybe show that the girl.
Wait,
Courtney,
you tell me the first one had nothing to do with music?
I don't think there was any music in that one. But the second one,
My God.
the second one, out of nowhere, they just pull rock and roll out of their ass, and it's just not explained. Why would I be terrified of a guy with a guitar drill when you don't explain why he has what he has?
I mean, you're a musician. If you were at a party and some guy came walking in with an acoustic guitar, wouldn't you be afraid? Because usually I am afraid, because that means that most likely a bad song is coming.
That is true, and you kept pulling the Wonderwall joke throughout this.
Because you have to.
Of course, especially in this context. But I just want to say real quick, I don't know what the fuck they were doing with music in this movie. I don't get it. As I said, it's like Miami Connection. They forced music into that movie as well. So, I don't know. But what about you? What do you like about it? What do you dislike?
For me, it was, what I didn't like about it was how just, absolutely ridiculously stupid a lot of it was. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to be at all. Like, I think what I did like about it was that there were some cool aspects of it. Like, the music thing was really stupid in the sense of, because I didn't know what I wanted to be. But I think for the absolute, like, just ballsy, like, just the stupidity of literally a rock and roll killer dude who comes around singing and killing people with a guitar, in my opinion, is kind of funny.
Funny if it's not in a Slumber Party Massacre movie.
Right. It's funny because it's like just so balls the wall crazy that I can't help but say that that's kind of funny in the way that it is. But in the execution of this movie, what it seems like is almost like an attempt to say it was a comedy, but it's not. It's kind of like the Tommy Wiseau treatment when he realized how famous he was getting for how bad it was. Then he was like, "Oh, it was actually a comedy," and everyone's like, "No, it wasn't a comedy.
No,
You're just saying that
you
because
were being self-serious.
You're being serious, and it was totally sucked."
Yep,
it's the same thing. I think that they might have felt some of the stuff was funny, but it was more of unintentionally just absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
But I did like some of the effects were cool. Like I said, actually the best part was the zit. The zit,
that was awesome.
Gag there, the horror gag of her face getting worse and then blowing up and the pus getting everywhere. It's like that's like playing on some real fears of like people freaking out, and so like that stuff was cool. I said the 80s, like you're watching an 80s movie. That's kind of cool too. But everything else was just awful. I mean the acting, the trope of 30-year-old people playing like 17-year-olds.
It's a big thing, dude. Friday the 13th series is guilty of that, dude.
Because think about like. This is something real quick that's really weird to me when you actually really start to think about it. You are portraying stories that the girls or the guys are underage.
Yeah.
Okay. Now they're played by older actors, so it's not like actually in a legal sense or that kind of stuff any trouble. But you're actually thinking about you're filming scenes that has to do with quote slumber parties where they're all getting naked and stuff.
And they're 17.
So the story is they're 17. Now, like I said, the actors, that's not a problem and whatever. But think about it, story-wise, that's kind of flipping weird. Okay? Like when you really think about it, do I really care? Not really. But I'm just saying in the sense of like, you really start to think about it, it's kind of weird when the whole like adult stuff. The idea, because you think about it, like young girls are actually, they're getting naked and they're having slumber party stuff. We talk about actually young girls, younger. It's kind of like, I like Stephen King movies, I like novels, but like think about it. If you ever read about the actual book, I never read the whole book,
like
but I read about it. There's
an
orgy of young kids in the book, and it's just like what, why? So like stuff like that always just weirds me out, like in the sense of like what the hell were you thinking and what were you doing exactly? What was the thought process behind this? So stuff like that. I don't think because they're older, you don't think like that. Like I think if you saw kids that were actual kid actors and they were doing that stuff, then you'd be like, wow, this is really weird. I don't like this at all. But because they're actually older adults playing younger, then you're like, I don't care. Like whatever.
It fools you into it. But
because your eyes are like, you're thinking you're seeing something different.
So that was pretty much like all you liked and disliked,
Pretty much. I mean, when I think about it, because this movie sucked.
No, it was the worst.
It was bad.
All right, let's get into that because I'm actually interested in what you have to say. We don't have the scale in front of us right now. Or do we
behind
do?
it. We do.
Oh, we do. Okay.
Yeah, you just gotta look underneath my my Buff and Brawny
We got the scales
magazines.
here. Buff and Brownie.
Oh.
Okay. We have the scale here, and what we usually do,
bad to the bone.
if you're just tuning in, what we do is we decide, how watchable was this movie. Okay, so of course we have the classic 1 through 4, 4 being the best and 1 being the worst. Now, where would you put this right now?
Me, I would put this at probably a straight bad, number 1. Kind of leaning towards a meh, only because it's like I would want to show somebody bits of this movie because how ridiculous it is. Like, I'd show them all the musical stuff.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there's a rock and roll killer who's literally, dancing through someone's
But
house.
you would
before
show
kills
it
them.
in a comedic fashion.
Yes,
correct?
I'd be saying like, hey, look at this awful horror movie I watched the other day. That was really bad, and I want you to see these parts. That'd be probably it. I don't think I'd ever want to watch this again, like by myself,
Yeah.
or straight through.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a 1 for me.
So I'd go for a 1 for you.
Yeah, 1 for me. Like I said, with the exception of I'd show people clips
Yeah.
of how bad it is.
You would
That's about
show it off, and
Yeah.
it's light. See, I'm actually, you're gonna think this is crazy, but
Oh my God.
I'm gonna say this is a 3 for me.
A 3.
This is enjoyable to me. This is watchable.
my
Now, this
God.
is why I tell you this. It's
my
on the
God.
border of 3 to a 2. Okay, so it
Okay.
is going down to like a meh. Didn't love it.
Okay.
Huge part I think of this movie is you gotta see it to believe it, kind of thing.
It's true.
I've
Yeah,
never
okay.
actually felt that exhausted after watching a movie.
You look drained.
Yeah.
And you're still drained. You're summoning the strength to get through this.
Oh yeah, but I had a fun time with it, to be honest. Like
I did. No, I agree with you.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't honestly recommend this to people. I don't think you should go out and watch this. If you're into like the sleazy 80s horror movies and stuff, go ahead and see it. It's of course a staple in bad slashers and stuff like that. Doesn't get a lot of talk about. It's more of a cult classic because the first one was big and stuff. We could freaking go through all of the sequels of like decently popular
Yeah.
horror movies and go through, and there's some shit there regardless. But I don't know. I think that, like I said, it's annoying, and that's why I said it's more of a 2 with all the dream sequences and the
Yeah.
visions and the plot holes and the continuity and the
Mm-hmm.
guitar shit. But I think I personally think it's a 3 without that fucking Andrew Dice Clay, dude. I'm not even joking. I think it's a decent like setup slasher, and I think
Yeah.
it takes a lot of tribute to a bunch of other ones, but it actually does a pretty good job
Okay.
in the aspects of it. Though it's not Halloween, it's not Night of the Living Dead, it's not anything to write home about. But I do think at the end of the day, if you're looking at especially all the films we've watched so far, I think this and maybe Ghost House would be on the top of my list, to be honest. Miami Connection as well as would, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Wow, AC the Merciful over here. Definitely.
I love YK Kim, and I stick up for bad, whatever.
I know
But
you do.
I stick up for people who are known to be bad artists and stuff. But in this premise, I think it's enjoyable. I think it's watchable, and I only really say that because of the horror film that is inside this comedy music horror movie. The horrorness in it, I dig it. I think it's a little bit atmospheric and dreamy and kind of cool, a little bit random and stuff, but that's what I would say. I would say I only recommend it if you really want to get yourself into this movie. Just to casually watch this movie, would not recommend it whatsoever.
Okay.
But if you're interested in a bizarre 80s time capsule of the era, go and watch this. I say get out there and fucking check it out. It's on right now. It's on Tubi. I think it's on YouTube as well. Amazon Prime has it for free. You'll always find it for free. Wow. This movie, I don't think the people that wrote this movie really care about it anymore. So
Yeah.
the copyrights on this
No,
movie
they're gonna be
doesn't
happy to
matter.
know that a ginger and a
Scraggly,
and-
long,
and his
homeless-looking dude.
homeless-looking guy in their bedroom are talking about their film from like 25 years ago.
It's probably the most.
Oh my God, no, that's like 30, almost 35 years ago.
It's probably the most coverage they've ever had. For
Ever
this
sent
movie.
for it, so they're probably out there going, I feel something.
So, like, my last remarks, though, I want to say real quick
Okay.
is I don't think it was a horrible movie. I think it didn't know what it wanted to be.
Absolutely.
But I think in some areas it did know what it wanted to be. It wanted to be goofy a little bit. But the comedy to me failed completely.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't
absolutely.
find the parts of him dancing funny at all. He looked like Beetlejuice or like The Mask or something. It was more like a kids movie, honestly,
Yeah.
at parts when he was acting so goofy. But these other scenes and stuff of like her being like traumatized I always love asylum movies. Like they always
Okay.
picture
You mean
asylums.
psychological ones.
They always picture like those like mental institutions asylum as like gross and grody. This film does a great job. Like the bed that her sister's laying on, it has like piss in it and like there's no bed sheets or anything. It's like I love that kind of like classic like 20th century kind of look at like how asylums and mental institutions and stuff ran. I like that because it also makes the driller killer seem like he came out of a institution as well and stuff like that. But I digress into the fact of saying that, like, you know, there are parts of this movie that I genuinely enjoyed that didn't have to do with the music. I think the music was just shoved in there. Maybe some producer, somebody forced it, especially 5 years later after the first film. But at this point, I think I'm just rambling on about it. You know?
No, not at all, man. I mean, you have a passion. You have a passion for La Casa and for, slumber parties. Well, actually, slumber parties in general, not just this movie. You do love slumber parties.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why spending the night tonight, correct?
That's right. Grab a pillow, big boy.
Well, awesome. All right. Well, you know, I'm going to look out for other bad movies. We were actually, after this film, Tubi recommended a movie called Moonstalker that I put on after.
Yeah. Couldn't
That
get through.
looked pretty bad. Yeah, so we'll have to look into that. All right, Scrooge. Well, I appreciate you suffering through this.
You're welcome.
You will get the purple, what is it called? The Purple Heart?
Purple Heart. Wow. Yes, the Purple Heart.
Is that what it's called?
That's what it's called. Yeah, for valor and my courage.
I was going to say you're going to get a trophy, and I'm like, there's no trophy.
I'll take
in
a
the
trophy.
Army.
I'll take a participation trophy.
Yeah, all right. You get one of
I wanna be
those
a winner.
for watching this movie. And, I'm AC.
And this is Scrooge.
And we are.
The real men of action. You know, it's interesting that the guy who played the Andrew Dice Clay killer wore leather because I love men in leather, especially like just tight leather, just wrapping around their thighs and their groin, just making sure that they just have just the best